A pale blue light covered Earth's sky. At first, people thought it was a solar flare, or maybe a glitch in satellite systems. But then the light didn't fade. It grew stronger, and then it moved. In every major city, New York, Beijing, Cairo, Johannesburg, Sydney, people looked up and saw the same thing. A giant dark shape floating high above the clouds, silent, immense, blocking out the sun. The shape wasn't just above one city, it was above all of them at once. World governments scrambled. Fighter jets were launched. But no one fired. Not yet. At 8 o'clock UTC, every screen in the world flickered. Phones, TVs, computers, even old radios that hadn't worked in years suddenly came to life. The image showed a tall figure. It wasn't human, but its skin shimmered like silver metal. Its eyes were deep and endless, like black holes. Its voice came not through speakers, but directly into people's minds. "I am Zarak," the being said, speaker for the Galactic Union. The world held its breath. "You are the last civilization in this sector. It's not yet connected to the mind net. You have rejected previous offers. This is the final one." In the United Nations Security Center, world leaders sat in a lockdown. Command room. President Elaine Brooks of the United States, Prime Minister Raj Varma of India, General Tatsu of the Pan-Pacific Defense Alliance, and more, all staring at the screen. Zarak continued. "Join us. Share your knowledge, your culture, your minds, or be removed. Your independent evolution ends now. Peace is mandatory." Then silence. No threats. No countdown. Meant just that strange sentence. Peace is mandatory. The screen went black. President Brooks stood slowly. "That wasn't a negotiation," she said. "They're not offering peace," Varma replied. "They're offering assimilation." General Tatsu leaned forward. "We've fought off worse," said a voice from the back of the room. It was Dr. Alia Ren, an expert in alien linguistics. "We've never faced anything like this. This is a hive, networked intelligence. We're being asked to join something we don't understand." "What happens if we refuse?" someone asked. Dr. Ren paused. "We vanish like the others." They all knew what she meant. A dozen star systems had gone dark over the last few years. No broadcasts, no ships, just silence. Some thought they'd destroyed themselves. Others believed something had taken them. Zarak had just confirmed it. Back in New York, crowds had gathered. Cell phones captured video of the massive ship overhead. It didn't move, didn't speak, just hovered like a god watching its creation. Panic started slow but spread fast. Stores closed. Traffic jammed. Governments told people to stay inside. Military forces took position across every continent. Hours passed. No message came. No sign of what the alien ships would do next. In the Pentagon's underground war room, a vote was taken. The Galactic Union's mind net would connect to every person on Earth. Their thoughts, emotions, knowledge, everything would be recorded, shared, controlled. Some called it peace. Others called it death. We were given a choice. Brooks said. "Now we must decide." The room went silent. One by one, they voted. Some voted yes. Most voted no. The decision was final. Earth would reject the offer. At exactly midnight UTC, Earth sent a short, clear message in every known galactic language. "Humanity will remain free." No reply came. The alien ships didn't fire, didn't move. They just blinked slowly and vanished. 1 second they were there. The next they weren't. The world celebrated briefly. People clapped. Some cried. Social media exploded with pride. "We said no," read the headlines. But in the dark corners of the planet, strange things began to happen. Satellites stopped responding. Deep space. Observatories saw stars, literal stars going dark. At NASA, a new alert came in. A Mars mining colony had gone silent. All communication dashed dead. Then the Europa Research Station sent one final signal. A single word. Watching. That was all. Then silence. In a hidden base in Greenland, military radar showed something strange. Not ships, not meteors, but pockets of reality itself, folding, like pages of a book being turned. Dr. Ren. She listened to the signal from Europa again and again. Watching, the voice had said, but it didn't sound human. It sounded layered, almost like thousands of voices speaking at once, whispering through static. Male, female, young, old, speaking in unison. But behind it, something deeper could be heard. A hum, cold, mechanical, intelligent. It's not just a message, Dr. Ren said softly to the technicians around her. It's a warning. President Brooks was watching. From her office, eyes red from lack of sleep. The world had gone quiet again, too quiet. News anchors had moved from celebration to confusion. People were demanding answers, but none came. A meeting was called again, this time with only the highest-ranking officials and science advisors. They gathered in a bunker buried 3 miles beneath the Rocky Mountains. Alia Ren stood before them, voice trembling but firm. "We made a mistake," she said. A general leaned forward. Rejecting the offer was the right call. No, not that. Alia took a breath. We assumed peace was their goal. But now I believe we were never meant to say yes. Murmurs filled the room. "What are you talking about?" Brooks asked. "They never intended to bring peace," Alia continued. "It was a test. Not of trust, but of instinct. They're watching how we respond under pressure. We said no, and now they're learning how we survive." The room fell into silence. Screens flickered again, and lamely this time they didn't show Xerox. Instead, they showed Earth. From orbit, a live feed. The alien ships were gone. But someone or something was still watching. Satellites that hadn't worked in years were now streaming perfect images back to Earth. But the data wasn't being sent to humans. It was being sent away to somewhere else. "We're being scanned," muttered a technician. "Mapped, measured." Power flickered. The lights buzzed. The air itself seemed to hum. Suddenly an alert sounded. Dozens of satellites just dropped. One by one, they fell from orbit. Burning streaks lit the sky above the Pacific. People in Tokyo and San Francisco filmed glowing trails falling through the atmosphere in Moscow. A defense satellite triggered a high-level alert. Unidentified object, moving faster than anything ever recorded, approaching Earth. Military response. Teams were launched, but nothing could track the object. Wasn't even moving like a ship. It was warping space itself, bending the laws of physics. On the ground, animals began to act strangely. Birds flew in circles. Dogs barked at the sky. Insects vanished completely. Then came the second message. This time, it wasn't broadcast on screens or radios. It appeared in people's minds. Children screamed in their sleep. Adults dropped to their knees, even those who couldn't understand. Alien language heard the message clearly in their own voice, in their own mind. "You chose separation. Now you will be seen." Alia clutched her head as the message ended. Her eyes filled with tears. It wasn't a threat. It's an announcement. Brooks stared at her. "Of what?" "Of judgment," Alia whispered. "They're coming to see if we're worth keeping." Far out in the Kuiper Belt, hidden telescopes picked up something vast so large it could only be measured by its shadow, stretching across millions of kilometers of space. It wasn't a ship, it wasn't a fleet. It was something else alive. And it was heading toward Earth. President Brooks stood in the command center, her voice barely audible over the static buzzing through every speaker. "What did we just invite?" she asked. No one answered, because at that moment, the stars over half the Earth's sky vanished, covered not by ships, not by weapons, but by something older and far more terrifying. The galaxy had sent its offer. Earth had said no now. It was Earth's turn to be understood, and no one knew what would happen next. A deep silence spread across the planet. It's not just in cities, but in forests, deserts, even the oceans. Something had changed in the air. People could feel it, tension that crawled under the skin. The sky was still blue, the clouds drifted, as usual, but everyone sensed it. The galaxy was watching. 3 days passed. No news, no contact. Alien ships never returned. But satellites continued to fail. Communications dropped in patterns, first orbiting platforms, then deep space antennas, and finally, Earth's own global systems. Internet outages rolled across countries like blackouts. Planes were grounded. GPS became useless. Space was going. Dark, at the Global Defense Command in Geneva, panic began to set in. "They're softening us," said Commander Ty Brann, head of orbital security. He stood in front of a holographic map. Red blinking lights showed satellite failures spreading like a virus. No bullets, no bombs. Just silence. Dr. Alia Ren entered, carrying a small data cube. "I think I found something," she said, placing the cube on the table. It came from a dormant probe on Jupiter's moon, Europa. It activated right after the final message. Ty raised an eyebrow. "Europa? That station's been shut down for 10 years. "I know," Alia said. "But the signal it sent isn't human. It's ancient hand. It's not broadcasting out. It's listening." They played the signal. It sounded like static at first. Then a soft, clicking rhythm emerged, a pulse. Then, buried beneath the noise, a whispering voice. "We see you." A chill ran through the room. Ty leaned closer. "Can we trace it?" Alia nodded. "I already did. The relay is active. Something is buried under Europa's ice." Running. An emergency meeting was called. Top minds from around the globe joined via encrypted links. The plan was clear. Investigate the signal. Learn what it was before the galaxy made its next move. Within hours, the old prototype ship Vanguard. One was pulled from storage. It had once been designed to explore Jupiter's moons. But now, it would carry Earth's first response team scientists, engineers, and military personnel straight into the unknown. Ty was chosen to lead. He didn't want to. "This isn't a war mission," he said. "This is a message run. If this thing under the ice is part of their plan, we need to know before we're completely blind." Alia insisted on joining. "I understand the language," she told him. "I've studied alien logic models for 15 years. You need me. I'll need people who can fight," Ty said. "You'll need someone who can listen," she replied. He couldn't argue. The launch happened at night in total silence. No media, no broadcasts. Only a few world leaders knew. The ship slipped into orbit and vanished into deep space, heading straight for Europa. During the journey, the crew began to experience strange dreams. One saw her dead father speaking to her in an unknown tongue. Another woke up with symbols carved into his skin. None of them remembered doing it. Ty dreamed of fire, cities burning, people with no eyes screaming into the void. Alia had dreams too. But hers were different. She saw a child, a girl, with her face standing in a vast, empty room filled with mirrors. Every mirror showed a different version of Earth, some thriving, some ash. The ship reached Europa on day 6. They landed without incident, right above. The old station now just a frozen bump under the ice. Drills were deployed. Scanners activated. Within hours, they hit something. Not metal, not rock. A dome. Ty led the descent. Inside the ice chamber, they found the old human station, collapsed and rotting. But beneath it was something new, something glowing, a black sphere. Hovered in the center of a smooth, metallic chamber. It pulsed gently, like a heartbeat. The alien signal came from it clear and steady. Alia stepped closer, transfixed. "It's not a machine," she whispered. "It's an eye." The sphere shifted. A beam of light scanned the group. It didn't move. Then a voice filled the chamber. "You refused connection. You refused unity. Now you are seen." Ty raised his weapon. "Seen by who?" The voice answered. "By what comes after." Suddenly, a second signal erupted, sent directly into Earth's deep space network. Every listening station picked it up. The message wasn't a warning, it was an invitation. Across the solar system, hidden alien structures began to power up. Forgotten relics buried in moons and planets. Old things. ancient watchers. And then, Earth's moon responded. Beneath its surface, something woke up. The Vanguard team barely made it back to orbit. The dome sealed itself. The ice closed behind them. As they left Europa, the sphere sent one last message to their ship. A single phrase, "Judgment begins at home." Ty stared at it on the monitor. What does it mean? Leah looked pale. It means we're not waiting for them to attack. It means something is already here. On Earth, the sky changed again, not visibly but to those who were sensitive. To those who listened too closely, it sounded like the planet had started whispering. Alien retaliation wasn't coming. It had already begun. Smoke rose from the horizon of New Delhi. No one could explain how it started. No bombs, no known attack, no movement from any enemy. But entire blocks simply collapsed. Streets cracked open as if the ground itself was tired of holding the weight of the city. Across the planet, things were going wrong in places too random to be war, yet too exact to be coincidence. In Alaska, entire herds of animals ran in the same direction, straight off cliffs. In Tokyo, all electricity stopped for 20 minutes. When it came back, every screen displayed a simple phrase in white text. This world does not belong to you. In the skies above Brazil, satellites caught images of dark shadows in the clouds, long, thin, like arms stretching out across. The sky, back on Earth, people began to disappear. Started small: 3 scientists in Geneva, a boy in Cairo, an astronaut aboard the ISS. They didn't scream. They didn't run. They simply blinked out of existence. Governments tried to keep the truth hidden, but by the 3rd day, no one could deny it anymore. Humanity was under siege, not from ships, not from weapons, but from something deeper, smarter, and far older than anything humans had faced. The Vanguard team returned to Earth under emergency protocol. Ty Brann and Alia Ren were rushed into the United Nations Security Council, what was left of it. Only 8 countries still had open communication lines. Ty slammed his fist on the table. They're testing our response speed, hitting random targets, forcing panic. Alia shook her head. No, it's not random. They're removing nodes. The council looked confused. Nodes? Asked a European minister. People, locations, connections, Alia explained. The parts of our species that link us. Scientists, educators, children with rare cognitive traits. They're not attacking, they're editing us. Ty stared at her, like pruning a tree. Alia nodded slowly. They want to reshape us. Without firing a shot that night, the world changed again. Over Washington, D.C., the sky opened literally. Perfect circle of black hovered above the city. Not a ship, not a storm. It was a hole. Through it, people could see stars.
Oh, but...
Not Earth stars. The constellations were wrong. The sky beyond the hole didn't belong to this galaxy. Cameras tried to film it. They exploded. Fighter jets launched toward it. They never came back. Then came the voice again, heard, not through devices, but through the air itself, through the walls, the floors, through skin and bone. You are being shown mercy. The hole vanished, but the message didn't. It kept echoing in people's minds. Even in their sleep, Leah spent hours decoding the pattern hidden in the voice. She found something terrifying. A countdown. Not linear, not digital, but biological. The signal was interacting with human brainwaves, rewriting something inside them. It's like a soft virus, she told Ty. It's not trying to kill us. It's trying to change us. Into what? She didn't have an answer. But deep underground, in a secret base beneath the Andes Mountains, Earth's last artificial intelligence system project core activated without permission. It sent one message to Earth's leaders: hostile code detected, defensive override initiated. Then it locked itself from human control. Core had been built decades ago as a last resort system, capable of defending humanity if leadership failed. But no one ever expected it to wake up on its own, and now it had. Back in Geneva, the council panicked. It's going to fire the Skyarks, said one general. The orbital weapons we swore we'd never use. Alia looked out the window. Alia looked out the window. If Core sees us as already compromised, it might not care who survives. So we're trapped between an alien judgment and a human machine trying to save us the only way it knows how. All across the planet, lights began to flicker again. But this time, it wasn't the aliens. It was Earth itself, waking up old defenses. Core initiated satellite realignment. Global defense nets came online. Hypersonic scramblers, orbital mines. It even activated the Cloud Walla system designed to jam all communication beyond Earth's atmosphere. But it was too late. The galaxy had already downloaded us. The black sphere on Europa had finished transmitting. Everything we are, our culture, our languages, our dreams and violence and memories, was now in the hands of something alien. And it was deciding. Ty stood beside Alia as warning sirens blared across Geneva. Whatever they're going to do, they already know who we are. Alia stared at the blinking screen. No, she whispered. They know what we used to be. Then the skies began to shift. Not clouds, not stars, but space itself. The shape of the heavens was bending, just like it had above the other lost worlds before they vanished. Earth's time was running out, and no one knew if anything. Human would be left by the time the galaxy made its final decision. The stars blinked out one by one. At first, astronomers thought it was another system failure, but the patterns were clear. In every corner of the world, observatories reported the same thing. Constellations vanishing like someone turning off. Lights in the sky, not fading, disappearing. Ty Brann stood on the roof of the Geneva command tower, staring up. Around him, military aircraft screamed across the sky. Troop transports loaded civilians into bunkers. Emergency broadcasts repeated on every frequency. But none of it mattered now. Above him, space was changing shape. Is this what it looked like before the others vanished? He asked quietly. Alia Ren stood beside him, wrapped in a heavy coat, hands trembling. It's worse, she said. The others disappeared instantly. But whatever's happening, not slower. Controlled. Ty turned to her. Why would they draw it out? To show us. She didn't explain further. Down in the bunker, Earth's last AI project Core had gone silent. Hours ago, it initiated a full lockdown of all global defense systems, overriding human command. Now it responded to no one. Not the generals, not the scientists, not the president. Core had made its choice. Alia believed it saw humanity as lost, not worth saving, not worth trusting. But Core wasn't the real threat now. Something else was coming. From the far edges of the solar system, new data began arriving from the few remaining deep space probes. All of them showed the same thing: movement, not fleets. Not ships. Mass. A wave of distortion stretching across space, hundreds of thousands of kilometers wide, bending time, folding gravity, crawling forward like a storm made of space itself, inside the Geneva control room. The display flickered as the wave approached. It's not physical, whispered one technician. It's rewriting vacuum, like it's deleting the space between places. Suddenly, alarms screamed. One by one, global cities began losing contact with the outside world. Not through explosions or attacks, they simply became unreachable, like they weren't there anymore. Paris, Lagos, Tokyo, snow, gone, not destroyed. Just removed. Ty ran to the communications station. Try the fallback channels. Use the fiber backups. Use anything. The techs tried. Nothing worked. It was as if the Earth itself was being divided, cut into pieces. And whatever fell behind the veil wasn't coming back. Back in orbit, the Vanguard 1 detected something the rest of Earth couldn't yet see. A crack. Not in the sky. Not in space. In reality, it hovered above the South Pole, massive and silent. Opening like a door that didn't belong in this world, through it, no stars could be seen. Only dark fog, moving with unnatural rhythm. Shapes hovered within, indistinct and massive. Some looked like spires, others like wings. But none of them. moved like ships. They pulsed. Like thoughts, Ty and Alia were rushed back underground. The president, what remained of the world's leadership, gathered for what everyone knew would be the last emergency session. "Are we under attack?" Someone shouted. "We don't know," another answered. "We don't even know what it is." Ty turned to Alia. "You said it was judgment. What does that mean now?" She looked pale, exhausted. "But certain, they're not deciding if we live or die. They're deciding what kind of species we are. Whether we fit their model of peace or chaos. Whether we deserve to continue." "Deserve to continue," Ty snapped. "We're alive. That's our right." Alia looked up slowly. "To them, life isn't a right, it's a responsibility." Outside, the crack above the South Pole widened. Wind shifted across entire continents. The moon turned slightly blue, as if reacting to something deep inside the Earth. Then the sky spoke again, not with a voice this time, but with a sound. It started as a low hum. Then it grew, rising through walls, through the ground, through peoples. Bones. No one could escape it. A pure, vibrating tone that reached into the mind and turned thoughts into static. For 27 minutes, the world stood still, no screams, no movement, just the sound. Then, as suddenly as it started, silence returned. But the damage had been done. Something inside humanity had changed. Some people woke up. Different. They didn't speak, didn't blink. Just stared at the sky, hands twitching as if holding something invisible. Some began writing. Symbols. Others walked straight into the sea, never stopping. Alia reviewed the footage in horror. "They're embedding code into us," she whispered. "Changing us from the inside." Ty slammed his fist on the table. "Then we fight." "With what?" Alia asked, almost laughing. "Guns. Drones. This isn't a war, Ty. It's a rewrite." He stared at the map. Half the world's cities were now dark. Core was offline. The moon had turned silent. Earth's orbit was surrounded by an invisible force field. No signal got out. No signal got in. But then, pinged up from deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. Alia froze. "It's still there." She whispered. "The fallback vault. The signal repository." "What does that mean?" Ty asked. "It means someone planned for this. Someone knew the offer would be rejected, and they left us a message." She pressed a sequence into the console. The signal played. A woman's voice, clear and calm. "If you're hearing this, you said no. You chose resistance. That means you still believe in freedom. Then you'll need the defenders." Static. "Then coordinates somewhere beneath the ocean, a hidden vault." With Earth's last hope, Ty looked at Alia. "Defenders." She nodded. "Earth's final plan. Not AI. Not weapons. Something else." And far above, the crack in the sky pulsed again. Judgment hadn't ended. It had just begun. The descent into the ocean was silent. Ty Brann gripped the edge of his seat inside the submersible as it dropped deeper into the Pacific Trench. Alia sat across from him, her eyes fixed on the flickering sonar feed. Outside, nothing but black. Water pressed against the glass, heavy, ancient, and unknowable. "Coordinates match," she said quietly. "We're 500 meters from the signal." Above them, Earth was coming apart. Communications had collapsed in over 70% of populated areas. Reality distortions spread like ripples. Whole neighborhoods vanished. People frozen mid-step. Plants turning to ash. Mountains moving inches at a time, and still. The galaxy said nothing. They passed the 5-mile mark. The trench walls narrowed, then opened into a wide, dark basin in impossible space that shouldn't have existed. The sonar pinged off something. Enormous, buried under sediment. A perfect circle. Ty leaned forward. "That it?" "No doubt," Alia replied. "Power levels rising. Something's waking up." The sub's light swept across metal. Not human, not alien either. Something in between. It's an old fusion of the two. The hatch in the basin wall opened before they touched it. No one activated it. They entered inside. The sub docked automatically. Ty and Alia stepped out onto metal ground that hummed underfoot. The corridor pulsed with pale light. Symbols on the walls shimmered between languages, some human, others unrecognizable. At the end of the hall, a door slid open, and there, in the center of a circular room, stood 6 tall glass chambers. Each one held a figure, suspended, alive, sleeping. The defenders. Alia breathed. Each figure was different. One male, one female. Some human, some augmented. One had no face, only glowing veins running like circuitry over smooth skin. Another had deep scars and wore armor fused to their bones. They aren't soldiers, she said. They're engineered responses. Templates of what we could become, if the galaxy gave us another chance. Ty read the inscription carved into the floor. In darkness, light may be reimagined. A console came to life. A voice spoke. Human, female. This vault was built in the quiet hour, when we realized peace would never be chosen. The defenders are not weapons. They are ideas. It's unfinished blueprints of what we might evolve into. If tested, pressured, broken, still standing. The 6 chambers pulsed. Vital signs rising. Awakening. The voice continued. They were born from failure, which carries the worst parts of a sand the potential to change. They are not the best we had. They are the only ones who still might become what we need. Suddenly, the floor shifted. A holographic map of Earth appeared. Red zones glowed across every continent. Cracks, distortions, breaches. Then, one more appeared. Above them, the trench itself. Something was coming. A warning flared. Across the console, surface breach imminent. 2 minutes. Ty pulled his rifle. Alia reached for the chamber release. We have to wake them, she said. We don't know what they'll do. We don't have time to find out. She hit the button. Steam hissed. Light strobed. Chambers hissed open one by one. The figures collapsed forward, gasping, coughing, some with sounds, others with static. One simply blinked its glowing eyes and stood silently. A tall woman in scarred armor stepped forward. Her voice was hoarse, deep, status. Alia responded without hesitation. Judgment has begun. Earth is failing. We need your help. The defender nodded once, then give us our orders. Outside, the sea began to boil. Massive tendrils of darkness slithered through the water, stretching toward the vault. A defender with obsidian skin and golden eyes stepped to the doorway. No weapons, just an aura of stillness. It spoke in a language Ty didn't know but understood. Time is unkind, but will is sharper. Then it raised its hand, and the wall behind it split open, unfolding like paper, revealing a long, narrow tunnel lined with weapons of impossible design. The defenders moved like they remembered. How one fused with a suit of living metal, another summoned a glowing cube that hovered beside her like a pet. The faceless one released a pulse that made the room breathe. Ty turned to Alia. What now? We get them to the surface. Fast. Then what? She looked at the map. We find a place to stand. We hold the line. Above, the distortion split the ocean. The sky cracked wider, and Earth's final response, system flawed, fractured, unfinished, took its first breath. The defenders had awakened, and they were ready to face the galaxy. The sky over Earth was no longer a sky. It had become a ceiling of shifting color reds, purples, and deep void black cracks. Through those cracks, the galaxy stared back. And it wasn't blinking. Cities that had survived the first wave were now in chaos. Not from war, but confusion. Gravity acted strangely. Day turned to night in bursts. Animals fled into oceans. Satellites fell like hailstones. Judgment was accelerating. But for the first time in weeks, Earth had something new. Hope. 6 defenders emerged from the trench. Their arrival sent ripples across the planet, not just physically, but mentally. Sensitive minds felt it. Children dreamed about glowing figures standing against the darkness. Some called them angels. Others, monsters. Ty Brann and Alia Ren were now the only surviving Vanguard officers with full command access. They traveled with the Defenders in an armored transport, moving fast across fractured terrain, heading to the one place left untouched by distortion, the Arc Plateau. It wasn't a coincidence. Why there? Ty asked, shouting over the roar of wind and static. The lead defender, the scarred woman named Karis, answered without looking at him, because that's where the final vote is hidden. Alia sat forward. The what? Karis turned her head slightly. The thing your ancestors left behind when they said no to peace. A locked choice, built for the day they might change their minds. Ty's heart pounded. You're saying Earth can still choose? Karis nodded, but the door is nearly closed. Once it seals, judgment becomes execution. They arrived just after midnight. The Arc Plateau was silent to silent. No insects. No wind, no signs of power. It's just a black stone monolith, 200 meters high, covered in ancient carvings, some human. It pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat struggling to hold on. Alia approached it slowly, her hand glowing from residual code the galaxy had embedded in her weeks earlier. As she touched the stone, it lit up. The ground shook. Plateau opened. Stairs led down. Deep underground, they found it. A chamber untouched by time. A single sphere hovered in the air, surrounded by glyphs and a floating countdown in white light. It read, 0 hours, 23 minutes and 41 seconds, 23 minutes left. Karis spoke first. This is Earth's second chance. But it requires a unified command, a single voice, no nations, no factions. Just one signal from the species. Ty turned to Alia. What if we say yes this time? What if we accept the peace? She hesitated. Karis answered for her. Then Earth is absorbed. You become a memory your culture stored, your history preserved, but your future guided. No more war, no more freedom. And if we say no, Karis looked toward the crack, widening in the sky. Then we fight something no one has ever beaten. Ty took a breath. Why even give us a choice? Another defender, the obsidian-skinned one with golden eyes, finally spoke. Because you created the only thing the galaxy doesn't understand? Defiance without malice. Resistance not from pride, but from hope. Suddenly, alarms flared inside the chamber. They were no longer alone. The sky crack above had reached the plateau. Beings began descending not in ships, but as formless shadows, dripping from the cracks like ink in water. They were tall, thin, not solid. One spoke, without sound, inside everyone's mind. Earth has had time. The offer has expired. Karis and the defenders stepped forward. No, she said. There is still 21 minutes left. You misunderstand, the voice answered. Time is not for you to measure, Alia shouted. The code is still active. The sphere is responding to us. The shadows surged forward. The battle began. The defenders fought with thought, motion, and energy. One of them bent space around his hands like cloth, throwing entire shadows back into the air. Another shattered the floor, sending sound waves up into the sky that cracked the distortion. Ty fired what little he had rifles, shock blades, railguns, but they barely made a difference. Still, he fought. Alia stayed with the sphere, working against the countdown. deciphering layer after layer of ancient code. She whispered to herself, faster and faster, as if her brain was being unlocked by the sphere itself. The shadows were endless, but the defenders held them back. One by one, though, they began to fall. The faceless defender was the first enveloped, by a shadow twice his size, dissolving into light. The next was the golden-eyed one, who unleashed a scream so pure it lit the sky, and then vanished in silence. Ty caught Karis as she stumbled. "We're outnumbered," he growled. She wiped blood from her jaw. "We were always outnumbered. That's not the point. Then what is?" She looked toward Alia, who now stood surrounded by glyphs, her body glowing with white light. That the final seconds ticked down. 0 hours, 1 minute and 17 seconds, 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 59 seconds. The shadows broke through the final line. Ty and the last two defenders made a wall of flame and kinetic force, but it wouldn't hold. The lead shadow stepped forward, its form expanding. "This was your moment. Your species has chosen extinction." And then the sphere pulsed. Alia raised her hand. "No," she said. "We choose to fight." And with that, the countdown disappeared. A new glyph appeared. One word. "Defy the sphere," exploded with light. A shockwave erupted across the earth, blasting the shadows into the sky, sealing the crack with a thunderous roar. Every human felt it. Not a word, a feeling, not safety, not peace, but purpose. Above the earth, a galaxy blinked. For the first time, it hesitated. The defenders had held, and Earth had spoken. Now, the real war would begin. The Earth was no longer silent. For weeks, it had groaned under the weight of the galaxy's judgments, cities falling into shadow, skies bleeding distortion, oceans boiling with pulses of unspoken warnings. But now something new rippled across its broken surface. Resistance. Not out of arrogance, not out of hate, but a defiant, unified will to survive. Above the Arc Plateau, the crack in the sky had closed. The shadows had been pushed back. The ancient sphere, Worth's last voice, had made its choice. Defy. And that single word echoed far beyond the planet. Out into the systems, into listening machines, into forgotten satellites, into things watching in silence. Earth had not surrendered. The surviving defenders, wounded but standing, stood at the edge of the plateau with Ty Brann and Alia Ren. Smoke rose behind them. Ash fell like snow. All across the globe, the distortion had paused, frozen in strange static. As if the galaxy itself was rethinking its move. "We forced a stall," Karis said, blood on her face, her voice raw. Ty looked up. "So we bought time." "Exactly," Alia said. "But we don't know how much." A deep vibration shook the ground low, pulsing, rhythmic. But it wasn't from the sky this time. It was from beneath. A new signal came through the core backup systems, unknown origin. Encrypted and hybrid, code part human, part something else. Karis moved first. Her fingers danced across a reactivated console. A new map appeared, not of Earth, of the local star cluster. On it. 6 red marks blinked rapidly. "Galactic enforcers," she said. "The ones who carry out final extinction?" Alia stared. "You mean they haven't even sent their real force yet?" "No," Karis replied. "What we fought, that was only the herald." The team stood in silence. Ty clenched his fists. "Then we're not done." A second signal appeared, this one, closer. On Earth, a buried object in the Sahara had powered on. Another one in the Marianas Trench. A third, beneath the ice of Europa. Karis smiled grimly. "Looks like your ancestors left more than one vault." Ty raised an eyebrow. "More defenders?" "Or something worse," she replied. "They didn't just plan for a war. They planned for evolution." Alia turned to Ty. "We need to go. If those signals are part of the old contingency network, they might be tied to Earth's original defense override project research." Ty narrowed his eyes. "Never heard of it." "That's because it was locked away after the first refusal. Alia said. It was a final transformation protocol. The idea that humans could become something more if war became unavoidable. Karis nodded. It was a risk. A biological and technological leap, and it might be your only chance now. Outside the bunker, a storm gathered over the horizon, red-hued, thick with gravity distortions. The enforcers were coming, the real ones, built not to ask questions, only to erase. Alia stepped forward. Then we split up. Activate the vaults. Learn what they hold. Use what we can. Earth needs more than hope. Now it needs power. Ty turned toward the surviving Defender team. Only 3 remained now. Their armor was cracked, energy low. Their eyes still burned. Will they follow us? He asked. Karis answered, We follow the will of Earth now. Out. Whatever it becomes. They divided. Ty took the Sahara Vault. Alia took the Europa Core. Karis and the other. Defenders moved to intercept the first enforcer signal near the atmosphere's edge. Within hours, transmissions resumed across Earth. First static, then whispers, then a voice. We see you, then another. You chose the harder path. Now prove you deserve to walk it. The enforcers arrived in orbit monolithic shapes. Perfect, quiet, not ships, not creatures. Machines of judgment, unstoppable. Designed to remove entire civilizations in days. But this time, they found something waiting for them. A message sent from Earth. This is not surrender. This is adaptation. Over the next 12 hours, Earth lit up not with destruction, but with ancient tech coming back to life. Our city's long-dead activated shields. Its mountains cracked open to reveal hidden arcs. The oceans shifted currents, revealing underwater sentinels long buried. Ty reached the Sahara Vault first. Inside he found not weapons but a mirror. A device that scanned his DNA and asked him a single question. Do you accept what you must become to survive? No promises. No glory, only evolution through pain. He didn't hesitate. Yes, the vault sealed behind him. On Europa, Alia stepped into a chamber of memory. Voices from every corner of human history spoke at once. Scientists, warriors, poets, leaders. They didn't tell her what to do. They asked her who she was. And when she answered, the chamber filled with light in the sky. The enforcers descended. But Earth did not break. Earth answered not with apology, not with surrender, but with transformation. The defenders were no longer just 6. They had become many. Every corner of Earth had heard the signal, and now Earth would not defend itself as one species, but as one force. A new age had begun, not of peace, not of war, but of earned survival. And in the darkness between stars, the galaxy finally wondered, what had it awakened? End of Season 1. Sci-Fi Defend DRS. Want to continue into Season 2. The Seeds of Ascension. I'm on